Dear fourth semester students, this is my first lecture on paper 401 Public Policy and Administration in India. Today I will speak on the first topic of Unit 1, that is public policy. And while dealing on speaking on public policy, we will also deal and touch the definition, characteristics, and models before we go to the next lecture on public policy in India, which is specific India. So after this lecture, you will be able to understand what are public policies, meanings and nature of public policy, characteristics of public policy, relevance and importance, and finally the different types of public policy. So dear students, first let me speak on what exactly is public policy. As you know, public policies are as old as the government. So whatever be the form, oligarchy, monarchy, aristocracy, tyranny, democracy, etc., etc. Whenever and wherever government have existed, public policies have been formulated and implemented. So to cope with that, the different problems and demands of the people, the government has to make many policies. These policies are called public policies. And generally speaking, public policy is what government choose to do or not to do. It is a decision made by government to either act act or not act in order to resolve a problem. Public policy is a course of action that guides a range of related actions in a given field. They really tackle one problem but rather deals with clusters of deeply involved and long-term problems. Public policy provides guidance to governments and accountability links to the people, the citizens. Now let me tell you in this way. Public policy is the process by which groups act collectively, everything from declaring war to installing maybe spotlights. We study public policy in the hopes that we can do better. It is an audacious task. What activities are best handled by the market? How can we act in the face of scientific uncertainty? How can we make sense of the opinions of hundreds of millions of people? How can we evaluate trade-offs, economic growth versus environmental protection, for example? How can we even measure our success? But you have, but you keep in mind that there are uh, many scholars who define public policy from different angles. So let's look at the four selected scholars who have defined on public policy. The first is Robert Eystone. So, according to Robert Eystone, public policy is the relationship of government units to its environment. So, I repeat, the relationship of government units to its environment. So, next definition is by Thomas R. Dye. He says that public policy is whatever government chooses to do or not to do. And I repeat, public policy is whatever government chooses to do or not to do. And then next we have uh, Richard Rose. Richard Rose says that public policy is not a decision, it is a course or pattern of activities. I hope you're very clear with that. And next we have uh, Carl J. Friedrich, his opinion on public policy is a proposed course of actions of a person, groups, or government within a given environment, providing opportunities and obstacles which the policy was proposed to utilize and overcome in an effort to reach a goal, realize an objective or purpose. Now, dear student, from this definition, it is crystal clear that public policies are government decisions and are actually the result of activities which the government undertakes in pursuance of certain goals and objectives. It can also be said that public policy formulation and implementation involves a well pattern or course of activity. It requires a thoroughly close relation interaction between the important governmental agencies, the, such as the political executive, legislature, bureaucracy, and judiciary. To make you more clearer of the meaning of public policy, I think we need to understand four things. The first is public policies are goal oriented, meaning that public policies are formulated and implemented in order to attain the objectives which the government has in view for the ultimate benefit of the masses in general. These policies clearly spell out the programs of government. Secondly, public policy is the outcome of the government's collective actions. It means that it is a pattern or course of activity of the governmental officials and actors in a collective sense that being termed as their discrete and segregated decisions. And third, public policy is what the government actually decides or chooses to do. It is the relationship of the government units to the specific field of political environment in a given administration system. It can take varieties of forms like law, ordinances, court decisions, executive orders, decision, etc., in general. And and fourth, public policy is positive in the sense that it depicts the concern of the government and involves its action to a particular problem on which policy is made. It has the sanction of law and authority behind it. Negatively, no, it involves a decision by the government official regarding not taking any action on a particular issue. Now, let's come to what are the characteristics of public policy. Here, let's point out Sambo and Anderson how these two have differentiated public policy from private policies. Also, the other forms of policies. The public policy is firstly a purposive course of actions or goal-oriented action rather than a random or chance behavior. Number two, public policy consists of courses of patterns of action by government officers. Number three, public policy uh, is what governments actually do, not what they intend to do or say they are going to do. However, this is still a subject of debates since future plans of governments over certain matters of concern can be seen as a commitment to resolving such issue within the set time period. Number four, public policy involves some forms of overt government action to affect a particular problem. It involves a decision by government officials not to take action, to do nothing of some on some matter on which government involvement is sought. Number five, public policy is based on law and is authoritative. In other words, this means public policy has an authoritative, potentially legally coercive quality that the policies of private organizations do not have. And number six is public policy sometimes an outcome of bargaining and compromise among political or policy actors and various interest groups in the policy process. So, dear student, how much you must be thinking how public policy is relevant and important in the administration of state. Let me tell you that it is a mirror. It is a mirror that guides the government in its actions. This is because a government without a definite plan of action is like a traveler without a destination. He may cover many kilometers and yet not be able to say where he's going or how far he has gone. Public policy, therefore helps the government to reconcile the numerous public demands and scarce resources based on priority. Number two, it arouses in citizens' public consciousness and critical minds to take up the challenges of assessing government plan activities and performance over time. Number three, it provides the platforms to question the why of government. That is, why do government do what they do? It seeks an understanding of the causes of determinants of political or policy actions. Number four, it provides the opportunity for various interest groups and the general public to know government responses and reactions to their demands. Such reaction shows the patterns of action government adopts or intend to adopt. Number five, it promotes professionalism in the art and science of policy making. So, applying the knowledge of social science to solve practical societal problems makes it compelling that expertise contributions of political scientists or public development administrators, economists, sociologists, lawyers, industrial relations experts, among others, are sought in analyzing the viability and feasibility of proposed policies that have, direct consequences on the general population, the economy, and the government itself. Dear student, public policy but has different types. There are many different types of public policy, and it is important to know them because they are very much important to critically understand the contents and the purpose for which they are formulated. So the first type of public policy is, of course, foreign policy and domestic policy. Foreign policies are those that set the orientations and mode of interaction that takes place between a particular country and other countries of the world. It is a potent tool for achieving the national interest and or objective of a country. Second type is the distributive policy. This type of policy is formulated by government to allocate resources to the general public. It promotes equal, access to resources because benefits are distributed not at the expense of some other people. It is a win-win approach since every individual, irrespective of status, is a beneficiary. The policy aims at achieving egalitarianism, that is equality in status among members of political community. So the third types of public policy is redistributive policy. In this type of policy, it is this policy is usually referred to as a social intertransfer of material resources. The policy involves the allocation of resources by transferring such resources from one section of the society to another, and the, and this policy also aims at achieving equilibrium, that is a balanced share of state resources or access to them. And the fourth type of public policy is regulatory policy. This type of policy is formulated as a control measures in the conduct of human and societal affairs. It involves setting up standards and rules to limit or restrict certain behavior or activities uh, with undesirable undesirable consequences in the society. Uh, it entails the making of rules based on accepted terms, enforcement and adjudication in case of any breach. Regulatory policies could be competitive or sometimes protective. And finally, the last type of I mean finally another type of public policy is constituent policy. This type of policy has a national orientation, and it goes beyond serving individuals, organizations or section of the society. This policy serves the nation as a whole by protecting and promoting certain activities that are vital to the national security and survival. Well, dear students, that's all for today. Join my Google's Classroom for any questions and other information. Stay home safe. Thank you.